All right, you guys have heard of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I guess you can call me No Locks and the 33 Swords. Well, actually, I don't know if it's 33. I lost count somewhere above 30. But mentioned in a lot of previous videos how I've spent, well, more than a year now in semi-isolation because of the state of the world, and also injured, focusing my PT on, among other things, getting hardcore back into the practice of swordsmanship and other martial arts. Primarily Japanese swordsmanship, but when my wrist allowed me to do so, I also got into Chinese swordsmanship again, and as you've seen in some of my previous videos, I've been stumbling down the paths of HEMA. First of all, comparing, how those swords are similar to what I already know how to use, and then seeing if I can learn how to do some new things without breaking myself any further. But after acquiring a significant number of swords in the past year and then comparing them to what I already owned, I'm planning to do a video series based on what I found I like the best, is best for me, and I'm going to separate those into two categories. One would be swords that I really like the way they came out of the box. And then I'm going to focus a video on swords that I've really come to like since I've done some modifications, because yes, I do like to tinker with all of my weapons. But just like Goldilocks, got to find that thing that's just right. My daughter calls it the Harry Potter phenomenon. If you go back to the first movie, when Harry walks into the wand shop and picks up a couple of different wands, some of them don't do anything for him, some of them are quite disastrous, but you pick up just that right wand and light shines from the heavens and the choir of angels sing, and you just know that one's for you. Now, this is an experience I've had several times trying to pick just the perfect handgun or firearm for myself, and I also do it with swords. Now, when I'm buying a handgun, I'm doing it in person. Back in ancient times, I used to be able to go into brick and mortar stores to buy knives and swords, and those really don't exist anymore. So I've been having to make the best educated guess I can online based on what it looks like and the reviews and the stats that are published. But still, when it comes to unboxing, and I've talked about this in other videos, I'm very anxious because I've got 3 questions immediately in mind looking at that box. 1, did the thing come intact? 2, is it what I thought I was buying? Am I getting my money's worth? And then the big one, 3, how does it feel? That Goldilocks, Harry Potter moment. So, you've already seen kind of the spoiler of what the video's about by the title, but I decided to play Goldilocks with Cold Steel again. Now, the first sword I bought from Cold Steel, and I do really like most of the knives I've gotten from them, I really, really like. Most. Maybe I'll review knives later. But first one I got, which I renamed promptly Market Garden, was the 1796 Cavalry Saber, and yeah, that's, for me, really doesn't fit. Now, it works really well, though, as a training tool. It's like swinging around a barbell for me. I can't use it at this point in any way that would be considered fencing or martial arts, but, using it for just straight up weight training, okay, so it has a purpose, and I am in the process of modifying it. So you'll probably see that one again in another video. The second purchase that I made from them, the Talwar, I really, really, really love that sword and had that Harry Potter moment the moment I picked it up. So, yay, much better. Much better made, much better balance, much better feel, much better, well, everything. And again, I couldn't necessarily tell that by looking at the picture on the website or the stats on the website. I really had to feel it. So, considering what I've discovered in European swords that I like and really don't like, can use and really can't use at this point, I decided again to play Goldilocks and go for a 3rd round to find just right at Cold Steel. And this one, sort of, mostly. This is their English Backsword. Now, you've seen a couple of other videos where I've tried out arming swords and side swords and other things like that, and sabers. I figured, okay, well, let's go for something that kind of combines the best of all of those into one thing and see how that works for me. And the answer is actually pretty darn well. And what they've made here is in my mind, compared to all the other swords I've owned, is pretty darn good, with a few issues, but let's get into it. So, specs on this particular thing: it is a basket hilt, kind of a mortuary hilt. It doesn't have a dead king's face on it, but they gave it a nice, kind of semi-blued antique finish on the fixtures. The guard almost appears to be one solid stamp piece, cut piece of metal that's then bent around, and then you've got it screwed onto the pommel in 3 points, which would also help the pommel keep from unthreading. It is a threaded pommel. And then there's what looks like around the sides here, just little spot welds that are up inside the guard that then are actually well finished. There's no rough edges, flaws, ugly points on the guard. I don't know how sturdy it is yet in terms of being able to protect your hand, but it's pretty well done. Everything's tight, nothing's rattling after doing a lot of cutting with it. It's really good. What's mixed? Well, the handle is wrapped in a fake ray skin, which is kind of hard plastic, really, and it's a little abrasive, but it's not bad. It's actually pretty good with a glove on, not too bad with bare hands. It's good for positive grip. Now, like the other saber I had that had the wire wrapping, same problem, except double. Where the wire goes into the handle, in through that grip, they left some really sharp burrs. So there's one on the top and one on the bottom. One right under my index finger and one right under my pinky. So that took some trimming to fix up. The other thing I'm a little concerned about is the fact that the way this grip is shaped, it kind of makes my hand sit right up against the steel. I have to remember not to have my hand in such firm contact with the metal, because that can actually transfer impact if it gets hit. But the idea is I'm probably going to have to put some kind of liner, maybe some leather or something in there, which again is not historically inaccurate, so I'll just go ahead and do that. So I may go ahead and make a couple of minor modifications to the sword. So this sword may fall into the category of good out of box, better with modification. Let's talk about the blade. Now, again, I've had Goldilocks with cold steel. The 1796, it wasn't just that it was too heavy and the balance was bad for me. The shaping of that blade was awful. Wavy to the point of being lumpy. I have been steadily reprofiling that. You're probably going to see in a future video. And yeah, I've really had to go a long way to try to get any evenness in those blade planes. They looked like somebody made it by hand out of clay. It's that lumpy. So really bad QC and blade shaping. Now, the Talwar, just a flat blade, and they did it just fine. This one is a little closer to the Talwar. It does have a little bit of rippling in the surface. Not at all bad. The other thing I'm not terribly keen of, but I think I need to get used to it when it comes to cold steel, compared to bohi on a well-made katana, the fullers on this sword are they're just kind of blah. They're not well defined. They're not really uneven or anything like that. They're just not very sharp. So it doesn't have that kind of aesthetic appeal. But then the whole sword has been pretty thoroughly machine polished. Now, this is, with it being a backsword, you have a blunt back edge, which suits me just fine since it's a monodirectional sword primarily. There is then a bevel for about the top. That's actually almost more than a third. But like the Talwar, they put the bevel on, but it's not sharpened from the factory. There's a good couple of millimeters of blunt on the back. So I have taken some time to reprofile that. So again, sword I have done some modification to give me a decent back edge on that false edge. Now the edge itself, getting back to the experience I had the Talwar versus the 1796, the Talwar cut like a laser out of the box. This one barely made it through milk bottles because it had the same issue as the 1796. The bevel they put to sharpen the edge was really just obtuse, almost like a cold chisel. So really no cutting ability to speak of. So again, onto the fine sander, reprofiling the edge, gave it a nice cutting edge, took it back out, and it cut well, for me, really, really well. So, yeah, problem fairly easily fixed. So let's talk a little bit about the specs. You're talking 1055 steel, which is Cold Steel's favorite steel for swords. You're talking a 32-inch blade, and I'm kind of playing with length. I seem to max out with my comfort zone at about 33. 30-31 is nice, so this is like a shave more than I'm super comfortable with, but not bad. Weight, 2 pounds 8 ounces. That makes it heavier than the 1796 and the Talwar. That's 2 pounds 3 and 2 pounds 6, respectively. So 2 pounds 8 ounces. Balance point, though, for me, on mine, 3.75 inches from the guard. So that's nice. It does come with the little leather washer you can shove on there to get a softer seal between the blade and the scabbard. So weight and handling, combine that with the grip, not bad. I was a little bit worried I'd get kind of a Talwar effect with the grip restricting, especially the guard bars restricting the way I can handle it, but it's not really that much in my way. I can comfortably handshake this thing or full fist it. So both of them are very nice and don't really get in my way. I'm also experimenting with using this, as I said, with a glove versus barehanded, and there's a little bit of a difference there, but it's not a bad sword to use barehanded, so consider that. Let's talk about the scabbard. So the scabbard, again, kind of a mixed bag. It's got some nice fixtures that are, darkened, antiqued to match the guard, and it does have a hook for a frog or belt or whatever you want to do with it. So that's nice. It's covered in leather, and it does have the plastic inserts that give good retention like the other Cold Steel swords. Now, I think these plastic strips go all the way down because unlike the other two scabbards, there's no wood. It's mostly flexible. So I'm not keen on that, and because you've then got the snugness all the way down, it is a little bit of an effort to sheathe and draw. Not bad, but not like the others where you overcome that initial tension right here at the mouth of the scabbard, and then, you're good. Here you're pushing all the way in and out. So that may be something that's important to you or not. But overall, I like it. And again, I like it enough that it's inspiring me to take it out and work with it and learn how to use it and apply it and fence with it, cut with it, practice with it. Yeah. So I think I paid about $250 for this on Amazon. It's also available at Cult of Athena, a few other places. I think it was money well spent, and I think we're getting closer to that Goldilocks of what I like in terms of that ideal Euro sword. So, to be continued. Hope you enjoyed this one, and as usual, thank you. I hope to see you again.